Thinking of my toddler and what might happen if I caught coronavirus meant I sobbed deeply. As the Tories opposite vote against this bill today, I say loudly, do not read this as a mark of solidarity for disabled people.
And I can't go on without putting on a record my admiration for the member for Penistone and Stocksbridge, who just said a really courageous and passionate speech, and I hope all members listen to her very carefully indeed.
Get Yankees out. This is going to be a bit of a rollercoaster ride of emotions. Now, this is Labour MP for Penistone and Stocksbridge, Dr Marie Tidball's really powerful speech on the welfare cuts, where on Tuesday the 1st of July 2025, the second reading of the welfare bill, and the Tories were getting right royally crushed by Labour backbenchers like Dr Marie Tidball.
In March 2020, when the Conservative government looked like an outlier in appearing to pursue a strategy centring on herd immunity, I felt raw, hot fear. Thinking of my toddler and what might happen if I caught coronavirus meant I sobbed deeply. After 10 years of austerity, I knew then that disabled people would pay an enormous price, and they did. Almost 60% of COVID-related deaths were disabled people in that first wave. I vowed then that I would do all I could to create a country which treats disabled people with dignity and respect. The social security system was broken by the Conservative legacy of austerity and their monumental mishandling of the COVID pandemic. I am now one of the only visible physically disabled members of Parliament. I am proud that our manifesto committed to championing the rights of disabled people and the principle of working with disabled people to ensure our views and voices are at the heart of all we do. My communities nurtured me growing up, and they taught me the values of fairness, equality, community. So it is with a heavy, broken heart that I will be voting against this bill today. As a matter of conscience, I need my constituents to know I cannot support the proposed changes to PIP as currently drafted on the face of the bill before us today. Since April, I've been engaging relentlessly with the government at the very highest level to change their proposals as set out in this bill, making it clear I could not support the proposals on PIP. PIP is an in-work benefit designed to ensure disabled people can live independently. Low-level support like PIP helps to build the bridge to the deinstitutionalisation of disabled people, keeping us out of the dark corners of hospitals, prisons and social care settings. The concessions the government have now announced are significant, including that all recipients of PIP who currently receive it will continue to do so. While this will come as a relief to my 6,000 constituents who receive PIP, there are still 4 million disabled people in poverty in the UK. Proposed changes at committee stage are still currently projected to put 150,000 people into poverty. I cannot accept this, nor a proposed point system under current descriptors which would exclude eligibility for those who cannot put on their underwear, prosthetic limbs or shoes without support.
I will weigh on that point. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Would she agree with me that one of the issues with the point system is it doesn't take into account gender at the moment? It doesn't understand that there are different issues for women and the physical things that our bodies face during that assessment process, and that any changes that we do to the point system or descriptors must include the gender reference?
Absolutely, I do agree. As a disabled woman, I know the added burden of menstruation, incontinence and pregnancy on disabled women as it intersects with their disability. Research shows that supportive, incentive-based approaches far outperform cuts or sanctions in getting disabled people into sustainable employment. If this bill reaches report stage, for me to be able to vote for this at the third reading, I will be looking for further reassurances that the detail will fulfil Labour's manifesto commitments to disabled people, and to see three things from government and have been embedded in its amendments. First, the Timms review must not be performative. The government must not make the same mistake twice. Co-production must be meaningful. The social model of disability must be central to this, removing barriers to our inclusion in society. Disabled people's voices should be at the heart of decision-making about our lives. The sequencing of the TIMS review and decisions about future recipients needs to change. Second, therefore, the government must consult with disabled people over the summer to understand the impact of the proposed changes from November 2026. The future claimants to mitigate risks of discrimination and poverty for those future recipients with similar disabilities to current claimants, producing impact assessment based on this. The government may need or be willing to reconsider savings as a result of this process in order to ensure that it fulfils the outcomes of its finding. Third, growth must mean inclusive growth. In implementing the £1 billion Employment, Health and Skills Support Programme, there needs to be a clear target for closing the disability employment gap and a sector-by-sector strategy on closing that gap. This matters. The Conservatives left us with a pitiful 29% employment gap and 17% pay gap for disabled people. As the Tories opposite vote against this bill today, I say loudly, do not read this as a mark of solidarity for disabled people, but with them hanging their heads in shame, acknowledging their legacy of 14 years of failure to 16 million disabled people across our country. I am proud that our Labour government has done much already to promote the rights of workers and opportunities for disabled people. This Labour government now has an opportunity to build on the positive aspects of its Pathways to Work Green Paper, to bring in a new era of policy making for disabled people, which takes a laser focus in closing this employment gap. The disability sector believes that this employment gap can be reduced by 14%, generating £17.2 billion for the Exchequer. We must seize this moment to do things differently and move beyond the damaging rhetoric and disagreements of recent weeks. There is an alternative approach, in line with the Prime Minister's statement that reforms should be implemented with Labour values of fairness. A reset requires a shift of emphasis to enable disabled people to fulfil our potential.
Bobby Dean.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I can't go on without putting on a record my admiration for the member for Penistone and Stockbridge, who just had a really courageous and passionate speech, and I hope all members listen to her very carefully indeed.
Totally agree, Bobby Dean. Very courageous and very passionate. And I have to say, I found it very difficult to keep my emotions in check when I was watching it. I had tears strolling down my face as I was watching it live. And I would have loved to have known what was going through Torsten Bell's mind while watching this passionate and powerful speech. I also thought she was spot on about her damnation of the Tories as well, because they weren't going to vote against this bill because of how cruel and callous it is. No, in their eyes, it wasn't cruel and callous enough. But what do you guys think? A speech full of power, passion and empathy? Let me know down below, and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.